save, stand by my side. In the grave, Hussain, my soul, come to save. With these tears I have no fear that you will be there for me. My Mawla, my Sultan, Hussain, you're my Quran. My Mawla, my Sultan, Hussain, you're my Quran. Even from my grave I'm calling your name. Hussain, Mawla, Hussain, Hussain, Mawla, Hussain, Hussain, Mawla, Hussain, Hussain, Mawla, Hussain. Wallah, empty hands, where are my deeds? Empty hands, where are my deeds? Empty hands, where are my deeds? If you do not intercede on the day when mothers will, on the day when mothers will abandon the children they feed, and when the earth and the sun collided, when everyone, and when the earth and the sun collided, when everyone will be called by their Imam, an angel will raise the alarm. Don't leave me, come save me, Ya Hussein, come aid me. Don't leave me, come save me, Ya Hussein, come aid me. Even on that day I'm calling your name. Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein. أفايدك Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Hussein, Mawla, Hussein, Hussein, Mawla, Allah. And when the sand on me is thrown in your grave, huh? Hey, and when the sand on me is thrown, and when my loved ones have all gone, left me alone in this strange home, left me alone in this strange home. Hussein, you won't leave me alone. And when the grave is crushing, breaking the chest, come listen. And when the grave is crushing, breaking the chest, come listen. Do you remember the days I beat my chest calling out your name? My Mawla, I'm certain you won't leave me hurting. My Mawla, I'm certain you won't leave me hurting. Even on that day I'll be calling your name. Hussein, Mawla, Hussein.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. First, I'd like to start by introducing myself. My name is Danny Kanafer. I'm one of the directors in the ARC as well. As you know, the ARC has been operating for now about 2-3 years. Long history, but a long history in terms of its predecessor. So for those who have been to 313, I would like to mention a quick word about the great work that they've done before we came about. But this is, before I bring Sayyid to the floor, I'd like to mention just a quick word about the work, about what the ARC kind of stands for. The ARC in of itself has a lot of services. One of it, we work on the entertainment. One of it, we work on the sports. One of it, we work on spiritual events like these ones, and social events. So it has really come a long way from the time of 313 up to when it became the ARC, in terms of its services, in terms of its offerings, in terms of the work that's been done. And it's only successful when people like you either join, or people like you either volunteer or help in any other way. Inshallah, I'll wait till the end of the program just to get a bit through it, but this is just a very quick overview of what the Ark does, and hopefully with a lot salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, I'd like to welcome to the floor Sayyid Noor, so he can give us a few words of recitation of the Quran and ziyarat warith after that. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
على حب المولى أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأنا اخترتك فاستمع لما يوحى. إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. إن الساعة آتية أكاد أخفيها لتجزى كل نفس بما تسعى. فلا يصدنك عنها من لا يؤمن بها واتبع هواه فتردى. وما تلك بيمينك يا موسى؟ قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأهش بها على غنمي. وأهش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. قال ألقها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى. قال خذها ولا تخف سنعيدها سيرتها الأولى. واضمم يدك إلى جناحك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء. إن آية أخرى لنريك من آياتنا الكبرى. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. عطروا مجالسكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجواي في آخرتي ودنياي نور العينين وسيد الكونين أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نوراً في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
رحم الله من عادها ثانيا. اللهم صل على Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Just before our dear Shaikh Shafiq comes to the minbar, I'd like a few minutes, Shaykh, now. Usually we don't get a chance to reach out to different centers, to different masajid, to different communities as much as Muharram. So just a few minutes to get something, to get a point across. I know this is an important night. This is the 10th. And typically there's a hadith on the 10th that is used a lot, that the death or the killing, the sacrifice of Hussain is like a fire in the heart of a mu'min that does not get extinguished and shouldn't be extinguished. It's supposed to stay in the heart, which means that there's a fire in the mu'min that's supposed to drive him. But drive him to do what? In this sense, the minute that I'm taking from the Shaykh is to get the point across about the Ark and its programs and its work. And I'm doing it piecemeal, so I don't spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes in one shot, piecemeal. So after the Shaykh, I might go on just to finish also my point. Very quickly, this is a center that is not just for men, not just for the brothers. This is a center for both women and men. I could not be, and I'm pretty sure that the brothers who are on the executive could not be happier that women have joined the executive and now there's a women's committee. This is something that when we first put it together, we kept stressing, and Keem probably got just sick of me, hearing from me, where are the women? They're not represented. We don't have them. They're half the community. So their voice is never heard. And sometimes when you work in the masjid or in the Hussainiyya or in other centers or institutions, you realize they do half the work, but their voice is also not there. So you never hear that other side. So this was an important thing that, alhamdulillah, that I will say their names, Sister Morgan Dilgati Dia, and then Sister Zaidan Meray, who've been instrumental, pivotal. And Sister Sophie as well, who's worked with them during that time, have been pivotal, have been a cornerstone of the Ark. The Ark would not be where it is today if they had not come on board, or else we'd always be on the half. We're just men, just boys, just brothers, and we've forgotten the other half of the of society. So the Ark, as I said, there's 4 streams it works in. Part of it, we lack the social work, which today, before we sat here, we had a good sitting with our dear Sheikh, and he highlighted again to us in that sitting about the importance of social work, about the importance of social services that are not typically offered across the communities. Some masajid do, some others institutions do, but not in general. It's not systematic or it's not consistent. So he highlighted that again, and I took it to heart, and then the brothers took it to heart again to get that message across about our issue with social services. We have some of it, we don't have all of it, and sometimes we lack, we don't even have it at all. I give you an example. A lot of the brothers, after we graduated from university, either could not find a job or couldn't get employed. So during one of this past 2 years have been quite hectic in terms of work and keeping things together, but we got sort of a mini workshop going on resume workshop. During the first portion of it, at least I believe 5 got employed, and now just recently during the COVID times, 2 got employed in the government, full-time jobs. So this has been ongoing, whether I'm in the Ark, and so for those brothers who know why I haven't been to the Ark, I've been doing it from home. So while I'm home, I also help them. That's been one of the services. It's tough. It's a lot of work. It's one person at a time, because sometimes they come rushed, sometimes they have an interview, and for those who work in government or jobs of that sort, you know what I mean about competitions, you know what I mean about getting that next level up. It's a lot of work. So I'm reaching out today. This example was to reach out. That we lack almost in everything. One of the important things that Sheikh brought up today was about interfaith. We don't have it at the Ark, I'll be honest. We don't have interfaith. Maybe one time we had a sort of a mini event where we told them, bring a non-Muslim friend. Don't just bring your Muslim. Bring somebody who's not Muslim. Bring them along. And it was a fun event. It was a UFC event. It was for men, for boys. And some came who were not from the Muslim sect. And we don't want, as the Sheikh reminded us today, every time you talk to somebody, you don't have to convert them. We just wanted to have fun, sit down, talk, chat, listen. There's nothing of that type of thing working in your head. So these activities we don't have typically, about interfaith activities, and the Sheikh really stressed that point home today. And I'm here telling you that some of these activities cannot be done by the 4 or even the 5 or the 6 of us from both the men and the women here, because some of these activities require enormous effort, and we're strained as it is. We can only handle so much of a program. I think the people in the committee, in the executive committee, remember that every time we had a meeting, we used to hold a sort of objective, sort of a table of objectives, a table of outcomes that we'd like to have for that year, a table of activities, and so on. And we've always kind of highlighted what we've done and what we haven't done. It's always been close to half that we can't get. It's too much work. So this chance, if everybody has that fire, and everybody after Muharram, after Ashura, says Hussain sacrificed. Well, how do I give back? How do I pass back? How do I come back and say, okay, it's my turn right now to pass the torch. Hussain has given me that torch, that light. How do I bring it back to the community? How do I pay it forward, as they say? So I leave it up to you. There's always a chance to volunteer, a chance to join. Whether it's the Ark or not the Ark, this is up to you. You go figure out what you want, but at least try to, wherever you go, try to initiate that social those social contracts, those social services, those to be engaged at whatever level you feel like you can give and provide. With keeping that in mind, I want now to welcome our dear Sheikh. This is his last night, and I know it'll be an unforgettable night with our Shaikh Shafiq Hudda. There was a lot salawat. Please welcome Shaikh Shafiq Hudda. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إن الحسين مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. My respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعظم الله وجورنا ووجوركم من مصابنا بالحسين عليه السلام. I take this opportunity along with all of you to extend condolences to the Imam of our time, Imam Al-Hujjah, to the Muslim Ummah, to the Samawat and the earth, the heavens and the earth, and to all those, the household of the Prophet's family, and all those who have felt the loss, the tragedy, the sadness of the murder of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. It is the night of the 10th. Difficult to believe 10 nights have passed, whereby we have remembered and tried to give a tribute to Abu Abdullah. We have tried our best by attending, whether online or in person, to give our condolences to Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha on the shahadat, on the martyrdom of her son. And the importance of the remembrance of Abu Abdullah is such that every Imam, from Amir al-Mu'mineen to Imam Sahib al-Amri wal-Akhir al-Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala dhuhurahu, have Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa have emphasized the importance of remembering Abu Abdullah, mourning for Abu Abdullah, crying for Abu Abdullah, so much so that Hazrat Zainab salamullahi alayha has been quoted as saying that even if for some reason the tears don't come out, at the time of the dhikr of Abu Abdullah, at the time that you're remembering the mourning part of Abu Abdullah, at least keep your head down and make a face as if you're crying. So even if you cannot cry. The Holy Prophet of Islam has been quoted as saying that if we cannot cry, if the tears don't come out on our day-to-day, in our day-to-day lives, we need to take an analysis that perhaps the burden of the sins might be heavier than we have imagined or thought. This is a time for us to, inshallah, reflect on this, because as I mentioned in earlier discussions, this is a university of Abu Abdullah. This is an Islamic university whereby we take something of great intellectual, spiritual, social, emotional value when we leave from this center, from any center. As I said, the remembrance of Abu Abdullah does not have to be in one masjid or another, one Hussainiya or another, whether you are online or in person. But make sure we do something for Abu Abdullah. As I had mentioned once, that the attachment between Abu Abdullah alayhi salam and Imam Sahib al-Amr, the living Imam, is very close. There's a certain attachment. If you look at how Ziyarat Ashura mentions that we hope and we hope that we will avenge. We want to pray that we will be there to avenge the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah when the final Imam returns. So on the day of Ashura, we are remembering Imam Sahib al-Amr. And on the 15th of Shaban, when it's the birth anniversary of Imam Sahib al-Amr, we do Ziyarat of Imam Hussain so that we are remembering Abu Abdullah on the 15th of Shaban. You see the connection? Any of the special events that we have throughout the entire year, my sisters and my brothers, whether it is the nights of Laylatul Qadr, there's a special ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, different than ziyarat of Waritha, different than other ziyarat. On the day of Eid, there's a ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. On the day of the 15th of Sha'ban, there's a ziyarat of Imam Hussain ibn Ali. On the day of Arba'in, there's a ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. On the day of Ashura, there's ziyarat of Ashura. Yani at every turning that we go throughout the year, on the nights of Thursday night going into Friday, we also remember Imam Hussain with ziyarat of Waritha. Because there is such an impact on the message of Abu Abdullah that one cannot imagine or comprehend. Because when Abu Abdullah was on the plains of Karbala in 61 Hijri, it was not just Hussain ibn Ali who was in Karbala. It was not just Hussain, the son of Fatima, and Ali, the grandson of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's on Karbala. Allahumma salli ala But rather, there was a whole institution there. The whole foundation of Islam was there. And yani, you can imagine and you can understand. Every prophet from Adam to Khatam were there on the plains of Karbala. That is why you just heard on the recitation, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam asafwatallah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuh nabiyallah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim khalilullah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Musa kalimullah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Muhammadin habibillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Had Imam Hussain given bayat allegiance to Yazid, it would have meant that Adam had given bayat to Na'udhu billah. It would have meant that Musa had given bayat to Fir'aun. It would have meant that Ibrahim would have given bayat allegiance to Namrud. It would have meant that Rasulullah would have given bayat to Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl. That's how significant the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah was. That is why every Imam told us. And you will wonder, that wait a minute, Karbala took place, third Imam, Imam Hussain, 61 Hijri. Amirul Mu'mineen was shaheed in 40 Hijri. Imam Hassan Mujtaba was martyred in 50 Hijri. How can they have talked about Karbala? In fact, it was narrated that when Amirul Mu'mineen was going, in fact, even when Rasulullah used to go, but when Amirul Mu'mineen was going from the Battle of Siffin and returning, he stopped at the place of Karbala and he actually cried where the place of Karbala was. And not only that, we have narrations from the Holy Prophet that not only the Prophet himself, not only Amirul Mu'mineen, but every Nabi had actually gone to Karbala and done the ziyarat and azadari of Abu Abdullah Hussain. Every Prophet. And we have got this authenticated as well. So it was not something that happened in 61 Hijri and nobody knew about it before. No. The Quran Majid talks about Dhibh Azim when Hazrat Ibrahim was absolved of the sacrifice of Ismail alayhi salam. At that time the Quran Majid says, "Oh Ibrahim, it's not that we have rejected your sacrifice. We have just replaced it with a much greater sacrifice. Dhibh Azim, a sacrifice that will come later on and a sacrifice that the world will remember till the end of time." So now today we see how important it is, this night, the night of Ashura, Laylatul Ashura. And I request my youngsters, my elders, my sisters and my brothers, tonight as well as going to tomorrow, please try not to laugh, not to smile unnecessarily, not to engage in any worldly, unnecessary talks. Try to remember Abu Abdullah, what Abu Abdullah on this night. Imagine if you were in Karbala, if you were with Abu Abdullah on this night, imagine what you would have been doing with Hazrat Rasul, with the Imam. If my sisters are remembering, imagine for a moment what the tent of Zainab Kubra and Rabab and Farwa would be like. It makes it a lot easier to understand and appreciate. Don't take this like a normal night. Don't take tomorrow as a normal day. It is a day of great distress for the Ahlul Bayt. It was a day that Hazrat Rasul, Amirul Mu'mineen, Siddiqat al-Tahira, they've all been in a state of mourning. So make sure that when we are giving condolences, we do it practically. We don't just give lip service to it, but our actions reflect it. That if anybody was to see you, they would see that you're upset about something. What has happened? Oh, we have lost our Mawla. Our Mawla was killed. So this is a day that is very practical for us to show our actions and our deeds and show our condolences genuinely and practically to the family of the Prophet. What I had mentioned was, and today I'll be summarizing, inshallah, I'll just finish with the responsibilities that we have in the Ghaibat Imam, because we had talked about the Imam, how this attachment between the living Imam, the awaited Imam, and Abu Abdullah is. That the responsibility of the believers, now when I talk about the word responsibility, some people might have maybe an understanding or even perhaps a misunderstanding that these are wajibats, we have to do this. No, I have to make sure, I have to clarify that when we see that the Quran was talking about kulla as'alukum alayhi ajran illa al-muwaddata fil qurba, that, O Muhammad, say to them, I do not ask you for any reward, but if you want to give something, follow my Ahlul Bayt, show love to my Ahlul Bayt, follow the ways and the path of the seerah and the sunnah of the Ahlul Bayt. It shows akhlaq, it shows etiquette on our part. So when we talk about responsibilities, it's not that these are wajibats, just like salat and saum and hajj and zakat are, but rather it's something that shows our bond to the imam of the time. And the first and foremost, and this is something that, basically I've just summarized it based on my own research and my own readings and my own, interaction with various ulama who have specialized in this field. So, you may find it in the books, you may find some of these responsibilities. This is something that I have concluded and I'm sharing with my dear sisters and brothers. First and foremost, remember the imam every day. In our day-to-day lives, it becomes very easy to become oblivious, to just forget and not remember. And we become busy, we have tensions. And of course, nowadays with many of us, not all, but many of us staying at home, with the pandemic around us, we're spending much more time at home, perhaps much more time on the computer. It gets, easier to remember, but in our normal day-to-day lives, our main test is when we are busy and we remember the imam. When we are busy and we remember the imam is a big test on us. Because one of the things that makes a believer, one of the things that makes a Muslim into a Muslim, is that the chance to do things that are forbidden are there and they don't do it. If somebody comes from the Middle East, if somebody comes from, for example, the Hijaz, or from Iran, or from Pakistan, or Afghanistan, or Iraq, and they say, oh, I have never eaten haram meat. You will say, yes, alhamdulillah, that's good. But you don't easily get haram meat. If somebody who's blind says, I have not looked at a ghayr mahram with lust, alhamdulillah, good, but you don't have the power to see. If a person who's deaf says, I've never listened to music, or I've never listened to backbiting, yes, alhamdulillah, but the power is not there. It's when you have the power of halal and haram meat in front of you and you buy the halal meat, even though it might be more expensive, that is when the thawab increases for the believer. When you have the power to commit a sin and you don't commit a sin, that is when your taqwa and your iman gets closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have the power, in the West here, we've got lots of haram around us. Everywhere you turn, every poster you can see, every channel you turn to on the television, everything you look on the internet, there's haram everywhere. The test on us is to stay with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow Abu Abdullah. Because this is what I mentioned, that when the imam returns, he will be confronted by another force that will be at, competing, contradicting him, and that is the force of Dajjal. That is the Sufyani. And we are told that the Imam will have, obviously certain powers from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Dajjal will also have powers. He will have his army. And he will have things, my dear sisters and brothers, I need you to listen carefully, because what I'm telling you is going to be dangerous, because we have to be aware of it. It's dangerous because we can be easily vacuumed in, drawn into him. And this will exactly relate to what I'm saying about us being in Karbala, that we say, فَيَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ مَعَكُمْ فَأَفُوزَ مَعَكُمْ, that we wish we were in Karbala. Where would we have been if we were in Karbala? On this side or on that side? When the Imam returns, the same night, Dajjal will make his appearance. And Dajjal, remember, there will be famine in the world, there will be hunger, there will be a lot of war, there will be problems, there will be thirst. It's not going to be just a bed of roses. Please understand that. Dajjal will have food when nobody else has food. Those who are used to not worrying about haram and halal, not worrying about tayyib and tahir and all that, they will be drawn by the food. Dajjal will have food. There will be a shortage of food. Have we disciplined ourselves in our lives? Has the month of Ramadan really been an impact in our lives that we don't do haram, we follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we get used to being hungry? Dajjal will have women. He will have lots of women, and those who are used to flirting with, looking at, interacting with na-mahram without any reason, without any, just for the fun. Dajjal will have lots of them. So who will be there? Because as I mentioned, Umar Asad army had the same thing. Where will we go? And Dajjal will have the best music as well, we are told. These three things Dajjal will have. And on the other side, with Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Dhuru, there'll be tilawat al-Quran, as it was in Karbala with Abu Abdullah. He will have dhikr al-Quran, tasbihat. So our actions today will determine where we will go, because anybody who has made a sincere intention to be with Imam Zamana will be with the Imam. I'll talk about it in another responsibility in just a few minutes. But that means that we have to train from now. You know, when you want to go into the Olympics, when you want to go into major professional sports, when you want to do those things at that professional level, the training begins years earlier. You can't expect one day to make a decision or an intention that I want to be in the Olympics and the next day you're going to join. It doesn't work like that. You train, you build, you develop, you discipline, so many things. So the first thing is remembering the Imam on a daily basis. In our day-to-day lives, there are lots of distractions. When we leave those distractions and set aside a certain time to remember the Imam, that is important. Number two, and there's no sequential order, there's no certain order, I'm just giving it to you as inshallah, as that comes. That we should give sadaqah in the name of the Imam. Give charity in the name of the Imam. Even if, for example, you want to make a donation to ARC. You make the donation, you make it in such a way that, Ya Allah, I am giving this on behalf of Imam Zamana. I'm giving this on behalf of Imam Mahdi. You will get the thawab for giving the sadaqah, the khairat, whatever it is, the donation that you make. And at the same time, you will have remembered the Imam, and inshallah, the Imam will acknowledge and appreciate that as well. Giving sadaqah, one of the things that we've always found in our lives, when somebody goes on a journey, somebody goes on a trip, somebody has to go overseas, somebody might have to go to Lebanon for work or to family visit. The other family members always take out sadaqah. They give sadaqah that, Ya Allah, please bring my relative back safe and sound. You go to Lebanon, you go to Iraq, you go to Afghanistan, you go to Iran, inshallah you will come back safe, and this sadaqah is given, this charity is given in that name. That is for the safety of that person. Why did Allah Ta'ala put Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi in Ghaiba? Why is he in occultation? One of the reasons is because there are dangers all around Imam Mahdi. There are dangers right from the time of Banu Umayyah, Banu Abbas, until today. I was one day in a new community I had gone to, and I was trying to find any place that I could do salah. I was looking for masajid. And there was this one Takfiri, Salafi masjid. And in that website, they actually had a photo of Rahbar, of Ayatollah Khamenei, and they had, that dartboard thing, the dartboard that, you throw darts and you aim and you shoot. They said that we want him, we want to get to him. And I was just thinking to myself, that if the world today, till today, 2020, that this would be an illogical thing to imagine in a civilized country, in a civilized world. If they want to kill Naib Imam, the representative of Imam Mahdi, imagine what they would do to Imam Mahdi himself. Imam is under danger. Of course, Allah is protecting him. Allah will protect him because that is his hujjah. But our responsibility is to pray for the Imam. Our responsibility is to remember and pray for the Imam and give sadaqah in the name of the Imam. Allah's protection is Allah's protection, but our duties are what I'm talking about. One of the things that I encourage youngsters and children to do, students to do, if you want to do this, inshallah, in your homes, it'll be nice. That, for example, when you sit down, if there's 4 people in your family, set aside 5 plates. If there's 5 people in your family, keep 6 plates. That we are sitting as a family, 1 plate is for Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Dhur. You never know. Maybe spiritually the Imam will be there. No doubt. I have no doubts in whatsoever. Because I mentioned the Imam is not somewhere far away from us. He is there near to us. And the Imam himself has been quoted as saying that if you knew, he was talking to the Ummah, if you knew the love I have, the intensity of my love for you, you would be crying. You would be crying. Because the Imam loves us way more than we love him. The Imam cares about us way more than we care about him. And every Friday, the Imam receives what is called our book of deeds, our deeds for that week. We are told on the day of Jummah, the Imam receives this printout. He gets this printout of what everybody has done. And when the Imam looks at it, imagine for a moment, if the Imam sees my deeds and he says, Shafiq didn't obey Allah, he missed his prayers, he intentionally lied, he cheated, he did this, the Imam is crying because of what I have done. The Imam is crying. Imagine I will be responsible, I and you will be responsible with our actions for making our Imam cry. What is the difference between me and Umar Asad then? What is the difference between us and Umar Asad if we do that? But on the other hand, if the Imam sees, mashallah, he was honest, she was muhajjaba, she did this, he made sure that all his salat was there, he obeyed his parents, everything was done as per the Imam is not only smiling and happy, the Imam actually lifts his hands and prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the safety and the protection of that person. So it's in our hands whether we are making our Imam happy and pleased or we are making our Imam cry. This is why I said the attachment, the bond between Imam Abu Abdullah and Imam Mahdi. You see the connection. I'm hoping you're seeing this connection on an ongoing basis in today's discussion. So giving sadaqah, praying for the protection of the Imam, updating our actions, our deeds. This would be classified as number 3. In making sure that our actions conform with what the Imam expects of us. How we need to make sure that our actions, deeds, our iman, our aqidah, because our whole topic in these 9 nights has been self-development, the completion, the development of the complete self. How iman, aqidah, our vision, our visionaries, and our actions all go in harmony together towards the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that our iman is saying, I believe in Allah, our actions are saying, I love shaitan, our deeds are saying this, our looking is saying that, our speaking is saying that, and we're going in completely different direction. No. Let's go in harmony, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. And this is what philosophically and psychologically will be the ideal attainment of perfection. Ayatollah Shaheed Mutahari talks about insan kamil in his writing. His book is actually called Insan Kamil, the perfect man. He's talking about Amirul Mu'mineen, but he's saying how when you follow Imam Ali, you are aiming for perfection as well. Allahu Akbar. Another thing that we need to do in this era while we are waiting for the Imam, I had mentioned a very important difference between passive intizar and active intizar. Passive waiting and active waiting. And I don't like to use the word waiting for the translation of intizar, preparation. One is that you prepare by just sitting here doing nothing and just wait when inshallah Mawla will come and he'll do everything. Or we keep the Lord ready. And you youngsters, mashallah, I'm very pleased to see that. And I'm grateful to all of you for making the effort to come, for making ARC a lively, embodied, and inshallah, an active institution, inshallah. Having grown from the ashes of the 313, which I also remember very fondly as well. Ottawa is not some place new to me, alhamdulillah. Many of you may not know me because you were children when I used to come here, and I've come here before. May Allah bless you, inshallah. May Allah reward you for making this possible for me. I also want to just take a second to thank my host, Brother Kareem, Sister Zainab, for giving me their house, for giving me their heart, opening up their homes and heart for me. And for all of you, the amount of love and respect that the volunteers, the workers, each of you have shown me. I have no words but thanks, and I have nothing to give you but my du'as, inshallah. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Another thing we need to do while the Imam is in occultation is Du'a Ahad. Du'a Ahad. There is this narration in Mifatih al-Jinan, the compilation of Shaykh Abbas Akumi, who narrates on the authority of Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. He mentions that anybody who recites Du'a Ahad for 40 days consecutively, continuously, from the time they have finished Salatul Fajr up until before the sun rises. Salatul Fajr you have finished, and before the sun rises, that means you cannot make your Salat Qaza. You recite it for 40 days. Imam Sadiq says that I give you my promise that you will be with Imam Zamana when he returns. If you are in your grave, if you have already passed away, the angel will come to wake you up in your grave that the Mawla for whom you were waiting, the Imam for whom you were waiting, the Imam has reappeared. Do you want to rest in your grave or do you want to come and help your Imam? Allahumma salli ala. And this means 40 consecutive. And I'll tell you a little secret, inshallah. 40 consecutive. That means that if you've done, 20 of them, and you miss one Salatul Fajr and you stay asleep, it's not that you continue from 21. No, you start from 0. And there are 2 versions of Du'a Ahad, okay? There are 2 versions. One is a shorter version, Allahumma baligh Mawlana ya sahib al-zaman. It's a shortened version. It'll take you maybe 3 or 4 minutes. There's a slightly longer version, Allahumma بلغ مولانا اللهم رب النور العظيم ورب الكرسي الرفيع ورب البحر المسجور ومنزل التوراة والإنجيل والزبور. Slightly longer version, maybe it'll take you 6 or 7 minutes. Either one, doesn't matter. Either one. 40 consecutive, and even if our sisters are at a time that they don't have to pray, they can still do Du'a Ahad before the sun rises after the time of Subh Sadiq. So please. As I said, the important thing to remember is 40 consecutive. If you miss one, you start from 0. And the secret that I wanted to tell you is only those who are deserving to be in the army of Imam Sahib al-Amr will be able to finish 40 days. Believe me, I have known of people who have done this 2 or 3 times and finally they say, forget, I can't do it. And there are those who on the first shot, they inshallah start and they are able to finish. If we tonight, on this Laylatul Ashur, on this night that's coming, at the ARC-sponsored program in Masjid Imam Ali, we make a promise tonight that I'm going to start tomorrow morning Salatul Fajr. Inshallah, on the 20th of Safar, you will have completed your 40 days, inshallah, and you will be with Imam Sahib al-Amri according to a promise made by Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam. The other thing is, encourage each other to do good. If you know, for example, I have a problem for Salatul Fajr, I have a problem, I'm committing sin, I have a problem, I do backbiting, come together in teams. Make small teams that we are Ansar al-Imam. We are the helpers of the Imam, the awaited Imam. If I have a shortcoming, you help me with my shortcoming. If you have a shortcoming, I help you with your shortcoming. And do that for each other. You know, we are so sure. There was one teacher of mine, he used to say that, he used to go with Hajj. His name was Allama Zishan Haidar Jawadi Sahib Qibla, Allah Makam. He said that, when people want to go to the cinema, they want to go see a new movie that has come out, a new release has come out, they'll take their friends with them. But if those same friends are at their house and the time for salah comes, what will they say? Please, give me 5 minutes, I'm just going to go do my salah. Give me 10 minutes, I'm just going to do my salah, I'll be right back. They won't join them together for good deeds, but for other deeds, they'll say, let's go, the more the merrier. Why don't we make it a point that as much as possible when we are at each other's house, and if it is at the time of salah, let's all pray salah together. Let's all do it together, inshallah. And if one of them knows the masail, the ahkam, recites the tilawat correctly, let one of them lead the salat. There's much more thawab in leading, even if there's just two people, one leader and one follower. Even that, the salat multiplies by 70 times, and it's a preparation we are making for the imam, because the imam's authority will be absolute, and when the imam returns, this will be something that will be taking place on an ongoing basis. Salatul Jamaat will be always there. So, salawat upon Muhammad. When we think about the Imam's reappearance, what is in our mind? This is a challenge I wanted to present to my sisters and my brothers. What do we imagine if we are to look at it very practically? There are some people who are doing al-ajal ya Mawla ya Sahib al-Zaman. Al-ajal, Mawla, please come quickly. Allahumma ajal li walika al-hujjat. Allahumma ajal. They're doing that, but in their heart, there's a little bit of a question, a gap, a little bit of concern. Why? Because when the Imam comes, will anybody be able to make their salah qaza? Will anybody be able to sell lottery tickets? Will anybody be able to produce or sell alcohol? Will anybody be able to do any of these muharramat? I said, no. So what often happens, and I just use this as a small humorous example, that sometimes in our hearts, we have something that we know is a reality, but we just try and sort of make it look good. It happens oftentimes in the month of Shaban, right when people are about to get married, when families are about to have a celebration like this. And they will come to many of the ulama, the sheikhs or the sayyids, and they say that, my daughter is getting married on so-and-so date. My son is getting married on this date. And we would like you to be there, but we know you're really busy, so it's okay if you can't make it. Just pray for them. We've had people actually come and do that. Are their daughters getting married? Our son's getting married. But we understand you're traveling, you're often in Iran, you're not here and there. So, but please, this is the date and whatever. So please come. But if you can't, we understand. We understand, we're not foolish. The sayyids and the sheikhs, we understand that you want to have the music and you want to have that mingling of the sexes. We understand you want to have that, and you really don't want us to be the thorn in the bush, huh? So we understand that, if you come, it's okay, but if you don't come, it's better because of what we want to do, and we'll be free to do it. And then there'll be those people who will say to us, "Okay, Sheikh, we are planning our daughter's wedding. You tell us when you are free so that we can have you come to our daughter's aqd. You tell us when you are free." So I will look at my calendar and I'll say, okay, this is the date I can come. Imagine for a moment in these two parallel examples. In the first example, even if I'm sitting at home, even if I'm in Kitchener alone, doing nothing that day, I still won't feel like going to that wedding because I know they don't want me there. But in the second example, no matter what comes up afterwards, I'll tell them, no, I'm sorry, I'm already committed for that day. The family is amending themselves to suit and accommodate the sheikh. What we're saying here is that there are some people who are saying, Al-Ajal ya Mawla. Because in this first example of the wedding, when the other people asked them, didn't you invite the Shaykh? Didn't you invite? I went there. I went all the way to the Hussaini. I went and I invited him. But they didn't say how they invited him. You understand? So on the day of Qiyamah, when we are asked by the angels that did you pray for the Imam, we'll say yes, every day I used to do Al-Ajal ya Mawla ya Sahib al-Zaman. I used to pray for the Imam. But deep down in my heart, I'm saying that Mawla, you have been in ghaiba and occultation for 1200 years. I'm still not ready yet. Another 50 years until I'm gone, it'll be better. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Yani, what we're trying to say is that there are some people who may not really mean that they want the Imam to come because they don't want to stop their bad habits. They don't want to stop their sinning. They don't want to stop their illegitimate sales of whatever products they're selling that are not acceptable in Islam. They don't want to stop that. So they know that if the Imam comes, this will be all cancelled. This will be all gone. Because today, if you don't like Ottawa, you can move to another province. If you don't like Canada, you can move to another country. You don't like, England, you can move to Australia. You don't like Australia, you can move to Africa. You don't like Africa, you move to South America. You can move whatever. But when the Imam returns, the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in the entire world. No matter what country you go to, no matter what continent you go to, even if you decide to go to the moon, as some people are planning and trying to inhabit Mars, even the Imam's authority will be on the moon and on Mars as well, because it's the hajj of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It'll be the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time. So there will be no escaping. So whatever we did, what will you do for the Imam? The last thing that I wanted to mention in today's discussion as far as what we should be doing is the respect of our maraja, our ulama. In the history of Islam, and again, I've repeated one thing, so today I'm going to basically summarize it because of what the intention has been. In the history of Islam, when all these powers, all these forces up until this era were bent on annihilating the Shia and all of your Azadari and all of your black cloth and all of your remembrance of Abu Abdullah Hussain, how did we stay alive? One was, of course, the Azadari of Abu Abdullah, the remembrance of Abu Abdullah, keeping it alive. But there have been two things that have actually given us a strength to stay where we are alive and flourish. Two things. Based on this 1200-year history since the Imam went into occultation till today. And both of these are under severe attack till today, up until today. And I'm sure I'll remember. The two things, the first one is the marja'iyyat. The marja'iyyat has been the institution that has kept the Shia alive, politically independent, and up to the norms. I actually had one Ahl Sunnah lady, a professor. She was a professor of social and philosophical studies in Waterloo. And she was once telling me, she goes, one thing that I admire about you Shia, she's Ahl Sunnah. She said, one thing I admire, she says, your door of ijtihad is open, and as a result of the door of ijtihad being open through ijtihad, not through qiyas, not through just, I think this is right. Ijtihad, a study of that. And he says, as a result of that, you are able to solve the problems that are in the contemporary world that we cannot solve. A professor is telling me this. I said, what we as Shia have not appreciated and understood, a non-Shia has come and said, this is something enviable. Because they have realized that marja'iyyat is not something that a mujtahid just becomes a mujtahid, all you see is that picture and the nice picture and the nice frame and the amama is really fit and everything. No. A number of decades of study had gone into that. And people then start saying, well, why are there different fatwa? Why is the moon sighting criteria different? Why does this marja say one thing about another? I'll tell you one thing. The fact that there are different fatwa is a blessing, not otherwise. The fact that there are different fatwa means that there is research being done, there is constant updating being done, and everything is being taken into consideration, as opposed to just rubber stamping the previous marjas Tawdih al-Masail book of fatwa and putting my name on it and presenting it to the people. No, that would have been the easy way out. Then you would not need 60 years of study and research. And one of the things that we have not appreciated and understood, especially when it comes to moon saying, the day of Eid, it's a time, a very tense time. And I hear people, La ilaha illallah, using such foul language with our maraja, with our ulama, that they would not even use for their enemies. Why? Because tomorrow is now the 30th of Ramadan and I wanted tomorrow to be Eid. I wanted Eid al-Fitr tomorrow and it's the 30th of Ramadan and it's all the fault of my marja. How dare he do it? And then I have people coming with excuses. Yeah, but you know, it shows disunity. He's doing Eid on one day, he's doing Eid on another day, he's doing Eid on a third day. It shows disunity. I said, okay. I'll tell you now, and I'll address these points. If anybody in this majma, if anybody in this audience thinks that the unity of the ummah is resting on doing Eid on the same day, you have not understood the problems that the ummah is facing today. And if you think that disunity is only because you're doing Eid on different days, again, we have not understood and appreciated the complexity of where we stand. 3 years ago, all the Muslims, Sunni and Shia, we had done Eid al-Fitr on the exact same day. Did the problem of Palestine get solved? Did the problem of Yemen get solved? Did the problem of Bahrain get solved? Did the problem of Nigeria get solved? We all did it the same day. Let me give you one example. Let us say we are in the time of the Prophet. We are in Medina Munawwara. We're in the city of Yathrib, Madinatul Nabi. It is the 29th night. I'm outside. I happen to be outside. I see the hilal. I see the moon. I come running into Masjid al-Nabawi. Please come out, quick. I saw the moon myself. The clouds come and cover it. Nobody else sees the moon. Nobody else sees the hilal. I have seen it with my own eyes. For tomorrow, me to fast is what? Please, louder. Haram. But for that other person who is in Masjid al-Nabawi or who is in the masjid, for them to fast tomorrow is? Nothing to do with marjaiyat, nothing to do with taqlid and ijtihad. You will be doing fasting tomorrow, I will be doing Eid tomorrow. Time of the Prophet, in Kitchener, in Waterloo, in Ottawa, in Nepean, in Quebec, in Montreal, wherever. So don't think that, oh, why is there this difference? Oh, you know, there's disunity. There's no issue of disunity. Unity means that the hearts are for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not which day you're doing Eid, my dear sisters and brothers. Allahu Akbar. One time there was two great alims. Allahu Akbar. You've heard of a book called Nahjul Balagha? Ahsan, Sayyid Radi. You gave it away. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair. Sayyid Radi compiled Nahjul Balagha. Spent 20 years of his life compiling this, finding the letters, the khutbahs, and the sermons of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen. He had an elder brother who was known as Alamul Huda, the standard bearer of guidance. He was a marja in his time, whose name was Sayyid Murtada. Sayyid Murtada Alamul Huda. Great alim, great scholar. These two, and I'm going to go a little quickly, inshallah. These two were the students of another great alim. An alim who was born during the time of Ghaibat al-Sughra. So in the time, just as the Imam had, the beginning part of Ghaibat al-Kubra. So he was born in the time of just after the occultation. His name was Sheikh Mufid, Muhammad ibn Nu'man. In fact, Sheikh Mufid was born with the dua of Imam Zamana. Okay? Great alim, great scholar. Author of Kitab al-Irshad, Book of Guidance, which is a biography of all the Imam Ali Masjid. First half is dedicated to Amir al-Mu'mineen. The remaining half is dedicated to the remaining 11 Imams. Sheikh Mufid, great alim, great scholar. Sayyid Murtada was known as Alam al-Huda. Younger brother, Sayyid Radi. And just to give you how beautiful this narration was, one day Sheikh Mufid sees a dream. In that dream, what does he see? He sees a lady completely covered in black, coming with Hassan and Hussain, and saying, of course he understood this was none other than Siddiqatul Tahira. And she's bringing Hassan and Hussain, and she said that, Sheikh, please teach my children. When Sheikh wakes up, he hits himself on the head. He says, what has happened to me? How can I have such a dream? This is, he was crying and crying. And he said, how could I have such a horrible dream that I'm teaching Hassan and Hussain alayhim salam? The next day, the mother of Sayyid Radi and Sayyid Murtada, whose name was Fatima, she comes to the Sheikh. She goes, I want you to teach my children. So that's how great he was, Sheikh Mufid. What happens is, some years later, they are in the dars, in the class and all that. Now, in those days, the dars, the classes used to be in the open area, open ground. And so Sheikh was preparing his lesson, and what he sees is a dog goes by, and the dog urinates in a certain place, and goes away. Sometime later, because of the heat and all that, the urine has dried up. Nobody even knows that there's urine. Sometime later, Sayyid Murtada comes. Sayyid Murtada comes. He's about to do his salat there. Sheikh says, don't pray over there. It's najis. Sayyid says, what do you mean? I saw a dog urinating right there. Pray somewhere else. Sayyid says, I didn't see it. I said, I didn't see it. Shaykh said, I saw it myself. I'm telling you. Pray somewhere else. I'm telling you. Yes, but I didn't see it. Give me 2 witnesses. One more witness and I'll believe you. Okay. Shaykh was very upset. And Sayyid did his thing. Shaykh was really disturbed and all that. They were having a little bit of a confrontation, and they decided that, okay, let's go to Amirul Mu'mineen, let's go to Najaf Ashraf, and we'll write an arida, we'll write a letter to the Imam and see which one of us is correct. Which one of us is correct? These are both great alims, great maraja, what we can say. They go to the haram of Amirul Mu'mineen, they write this letter, they put the arida in. The next day, there's at the bottom of the zari, at the haram, zari, there's a reply that this dilemma, this issue will be solved by my son, Muhammad ibn Mahdi Ajjalallah, Muhammad Mahdi Ajjalallah ta'ala dhuhura. Go to Samarra. They make the trip to Samarra. They put an arida in the where the sardab of Imam is. They put it in there. The two of them next day, they see the reply there. The reply, now imagine for a moment, think, 2 scholars, 2 great personalities. Difference is there, a significant difference. Okay, did you not trust me? Did you not believe me? Yes, but at the same time, I didn't see it. The Sharia says one thing, and the letter, the reply of the Imam is what? Allahu Akbar. The reply of the Imam is, As-Sayyidum al-Haqqi wa Shaykh Mu'tamadi. The Sayyid is correct, but I have my full trust in the Shaykh. Think for a moment. The Imam could have said, what are you guys doing? Can't you guys agree on one thing? You guys are ulama, you guys are alims, you guys are scholars. No, the Imam didn't do that. The Imam wanted to encourage ijtihad. The Imam wanted to encourage one's own conclusions and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala depending on what is responsible for them. Yani, he says, As-Sayyidu ma'al haqqi, the Sayyid is correct. Wa Shaykh mu'tamadi, I have my full trust in the Shaykh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A senior scholar was once passing away on his deathbed. And you all know that at your deathbed, it is recommended to face you towards Qibla, towards the direction of Qibla. And there are certain times that it is haram to face Qibla. So the son put his father towards Qibla as he was on his deathbed. Agha, Shaykh moves himself away from there. The son puts him back. The father moves himself away. He squirms and squiddles and moves away. Sometime later, the son gets frustrated. He says, Baba, I'm doing what is wajib on me. Can you please stop moving? I'm facing you towards Qibla because this is it. This is your last moment. The father replies that I am at a state where my urine is coming out. To face the Qibla while urinating is haram. You do what you have to do. Let me do what I have to do. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The marja'iyat is what has kept us politically independent. If you look today at some of these zalim, some of these oppressive governments, and you go, if you've ever gone to Hajj or Umrah, and you go to, Salat afterwards, what do? The Imam of Makkah, the Imam of Medina will raise their hands and will say, Allah protect, Khadimul Haramain, Al-Sharafain, protect this one, give him long life, and, protect MBS and this and that. And what ends up happening is their paycheck comes from there. So they're praying for their safety because that is the one the paycheck is coming from. In the ulama of Ahlul Bayt, the paycheck of the ulama comes from Imam Sahibul Amr. So the only allegiance and obedience they will have is to the Imam of the time, not for any oppressive government or governor. That has been the political independence. Marja'iyat has been the political independence and the religious independence of the Shia. And that is why it has come under fire in this last 2 generations. More so than any other time. People have now the outsiders have put doubts in the hearts of the believers about Marja'iyat. They're talking about Marja'iyat as an institution. Do we need to do taqleed anymore? Should we follow Marja? What does that old man sitting in Najaf, or that old man sitting in Qom, or that old man sitting in Mashhad or in Beirut, what does he know about our problems here in the West? Believe me, I can tell you with honest experience, first-hand experience, those people sitting, those old men sitting in Qom and Najaf and in Beirut or in Mashhad, they have more knowledge of what is happening in our spiritual status than we ourselves do sitting here in the West. But what have they done? They've created doubts in the minds of the people about marja'iyat. They've put doubts in the minds of the people about taqleed and ijtihad because they saw they could not fight the Shias militarily. They could not fight the Shias with arms and weapons. They tried to kill us, it still didn't work. They tried to torture us, it still didn't work. They tried to imprison us, it still didn't work. So what do? You create doubts in them about their leadership. Because the minute you have doubts about your leadership, about your marja'iyat, then who's going to obey the Imam? If you can't obey the naib of the Imam, the wakil of the Imam, then who's going to obey the Imam? This was our religious and political independence. And that's why the marja'iyyat you've never had a marja, oh, do my taqleed, follow me. This type of thing, it doesn't work. The same way I was mentioning, that Prophet Muhammad didn't need to go to people, believe in my nubuwwat. No, nubuwwat is from Allah. Marja'iyyat, taqleed, these are also grace and lutf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are deserving to be a marja, it will automatically shine. You will shine yourself. And if you're not deserving, then you will be blacked out yourself. So don't worry about that. And that's why people try to create marjas. People try to make sure that, oh, let's put this statement forward or put that name forward. And just the light never shone there. I wish I had the time. I could have given you stories of ulama that would have made your hair stand up. Because, we've got, why have through this 1,000-year history from the time of the Imams? Because remember, marja'at was not something from now. Following a marja or an alim was not from now. Imam Sadiq used to tell people, I have my wakil in Kufa, obey him, listen to him. It is as if you have heard it from me. When people came and said, Mullah, we have come all the way from Kufa to ask you one question. Imam says, my wakil is there, my naib is there. Why didn't you ask him? He said, no, we wanted to hear it from you directly. Sixth Imam in his time, 6 Imams before Imam Mahdi, said that my wakil is there. If you hear it from him, it is as if you have heard it from me. If he is wrong, that is between him and Allah. Afterwards, the Imam will sort it out. But in the meantime, our obedience, our allegiance has to be to the marja to whom we have done the taqleed of. Don't let others create doubts in your minds. Don't let others create any sort of fitna in the community. Oh, this marja's fatwa is not good. This doesn't make sense. This is illogical. This is how doubts come about. And this is why one of the things that we see in the lives of our maraja, our ulama who are naib imam, nawab al-imam, you will see a sincerity and an exemplary following of the imam. Just like in Karbala, Abu Abdullah could have protected his family and sent them away. The Imam could have, but did he not sacrifice Qasim, own Muhammad, and his own Ali Akbar and Ali Asghar? Did he not sacrifice his own children as well? Because he didn't tell you to sacrifice your children and the Imam would pray, protect and safeguard his. No. If you look at our ulama, did Sayyid Hassan's son not be shaheed in the war? Ayatollah Gul Paygani lost his son in the war, in the Iran-Iraq war. Imam Khomeini lost his son, shaheed Mustafa. We see that the whole line of marja'at Imam Khamenei himself is paralyzed. As you know, his right hand, he cannot move his right hand because of a bomb blast. He has to lift his hand like this. Blast was there. So we've got a practical following of our muraja. They don't tell you to send your sons, or they don't tell you to be brave, and they themselves are hiding. Unlike the political leaders of today, that when that Iraq war was taking place, and in the Americans were invading these different countries, their own children, the senators, the congressmen, all these political leaders, the Queen's grandson, all of them were supposedly in the army, but all of them were protected behind 6 layers of troops, and they were on the 7th layer at the back. Why? Because we don't want anything to happen to them. We don't want them to get hurt. Did one congressman out of the hundreds lose a single child? Go see the American history or even Canadian political history. See if any political leader's child was injured or killed in war on the front. The US has had many wars. Korea, Vietnam, this, that. Find out. You do your history. I don't want to go into much detail. Our ulama have lived their lives the way Amir al-Mu'mineen lived his life. The way Abu Abdullah al-Hussain lived his life. And that is why the ummah follows them. They are exemplary. Their lives reflect what they say, their iman, their aqidah, reflected from Abu Abdullah on the plains of God. The second thing I was going to tell you today that has protected the Shia community, one is the marja'iyat, the second is khums, the khums. Quran Majid in Surah Anfal talks about it. From your savings, from your Anfal, give 1/5 of it lillahi wal rasul wal yatama wal masakina wa ibn sabil. From whatever you've got left, give 1/5 of it for the sake of Allah and for the sake of the Prophet. Sahm Imam, Sahm Sadat. Sahm Imam is the part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what happens? All these years, people, and I've had actual practical discussions, people sitting in front of me and talk about Shias. If it was outsiders, it would be understandable. Shias think that, in Canada we have a lot of tax. We're paying PST and GST, and we have got federal income tax, and we have got this tax, and we have got excise tax, and we've got, all these taxes. And we still have to pay khums? I don't think so. Sometimes people just want an excuse, and they want some sheikh or sayyid to say, okay, it's okay, you're exempt from khums. It doesn't work like that. This has been the financial independence of the Shia, of the Ummah, of the Shia. That is why I told you on the night when we were talking about Fadak, why did Hazrat Fatima Zahra go before the Khalifa? Why did she present herself before the Khalifa? For a piece of property, a piece of land? People often ask, why are the Palestinians fighting? There's a representation and a humiliation that is to be avoided and averted by demanding what is right, what is your haqq. And so when you look at the khums, people have not only from the Shia, outsiders now, just day before yesterday, the FBI in the US is saying that, Muslims, Shias should stop paying this khums. The first thought was that they didn't want the khums to go overseas, they didn't want it to go to Tehran, didn't want it to go to Iran or Iraq. Now they're actually going and implying that why are you guys paying khums anyways? This is just day before yesterday. I'm not even talking about 1,000 years ago or 100 years ago. I'm talking about day before yesterday. And if you read the report, because one of our Shia brothers is actually incarcerated just because he was collecting khums for the sake of the poor people who are being bombed to death in Yemen. What does this tell us? That these two things are being attacked. When these two things are being attacked, that means that the enemies have realized that these two things have protected the Shia. The financial independence is the khums. The religious and political independence is the marja'iyyat. Let's attack it, because we can't kill the Shias. We can't imprison them, it's not working. We can't torture them, it's not working. They're falling above Abdullah. So what do? You rot them from their base. And that's what you see around you today. Please be conscious and aware. This will be our most important responsibility to the Imam of our time. And when we are doing our responsibilities to the Imam of the time, that automatically means we are being responsible to the Imam Abu Abdullah, whose shahadat we are marking tonight. Allahu Akbar, what the Imam didn't sacrifice on the plains of Karbala, so that we would have the true message of Islam, the true message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imam, after all of his ashab, all of his ansar were martyred, the Imam looks to the battlefield and he's seeing and he's addressing them. Even at that moment, the Imam is an Imam. Allahu Akbar. He calls for a meeting with Umar ibn Sa'ad and he says, you know who I am. I am the son of Ali and Fatima. I am the grandson of the Prophet. I am the one your father saw playing on the lap of the Holy Prophet. Why are you bent on killing me? And Umar Asad gives him his reply. He says that I will be the governor of Ray, I will have this, I will have that, I will go and do istighfar. La ilaha illallah, none of that materialized. Neither did he get the governorship of Ray, nor is there any record of him doing istighfar before Allah or Imam Zain al-Abidin. The Imam now is alone, all the Ashab and the Ansar have gone. He calls out, Hal min nasirin yansurna. My only question, my sisters and my brothers, when the Imam called out, Hal min nasirin yansurna, is there anyone to help me? Did the Imam mean material help? Did the Imam mean material help? If somebody has lost every family member, if somebody has lost everything they want, why would they want to stay alive in this world? It means that the Imam was not asking for Hal min nasirin, that I want help. The Imam was saying that please help the mission that I have come to Karbala for. Help the mission that I have come to Karbala for. When we become better Shia, when we become better Mu'min, then we have followed Abu Abdullah and we have answered Labbaik ya ibn Rasulullah. The Imam hears some commotion in the tent. He goes into the tent and what does he see? Rabab is holding Abdullah Ali Asghar, and Imam is saying, what happened in here? And Rabab says that, Ya Mawla, as soon as you called out Hal min nasirin yansurna, Abdullah Ali Asghar moved himself away from the cradle and threw himself down on the ground. Imam Hussain said that yes, even he is calling out Labbaik. I will take him to the battlefield and ask for water for him. The Imam, when he goes there, he has covered Ali Asghar, he has covered Abdullah, because the heat was very severe. And when the people saw that this covering with the Abba of Abu Abdullah was there, they thought that maybe Hussein has come with the Quran. Maybe Hussein now wants to do some negotiation. Maybe Imam Hussein now wants to compromise something. When they realized that he removed the Abba and they saw Ali Asghar, Imam Hussein said that in any war, in any community, in any society, a child is regarded as infallible, as ma'soom. My son has not been able to drink his mother's milk, which has dried up. He has been thirsty. If you want to give him some water, don't worry about me, just give the baby. They finally see some movement taking place. Imam puts Ali Asghar Abdullah on the floor, on the burning plains of Karbala, and says, if you think I will drink the water, you come yourself and give him the water. Even then, nobody is moving, but some degree of movement is taking place. Finally, Umar Saad comes to Harmala and says, end this speech of Hussain, otherwise our army will leave. When Imam Hussain has held Ali Asghar Abdullah again, Harmala has been ordered to do something. Harmala fires an arrow. Some say it was 3 arrows. Some say it was a 3-pronged arrow. But what we know is that the arrow that was fired was used for killing large animals, not a hungry and thirsty baby. The arrow pierces the neck of Ali Asghar Abdullah. Imam Hussain wants to put the blood towards the sky. The clouds cry out, Yabna Rasulullah, no rain will fall. Imam wants to put the blood of Ali Asghar Abdullah on the ground. The ground calls out, Mawla, nothing will be able to grow. Imam puts the blood of Ali Asghar Abdullah on his beard and says, Ya Rasulullah, this is the face with which I will come to you. Inna lillahi.
يا ناس حتى الطفل مذبوح دمع على زند حسين مسفوح وين اللي يساعدني ويجي وينوح قلبي على فرقاه مجروح قلبي على فرقاه مجروح Imam Hussain goes to the camp. This is the final farewell. He says goodbye. He says salam to his family. Ya Zainab, Ya Ruqayya, Ya Sukaina, Ya Layla, Ya Rabab, هذا الوداع الأخير. He rode his horse and he went back to the battlefield. The enemy started shooting arrows at him. One of the arrows pierced his heart. The Imam was severely wounded. Some narration says there were more than 72 wounds. When the Imam became heavily wounded, he dismounted from his horse to sit on the ground to regain his energy. At that moment, one of the enemies threw a rock on his forehead. This caused the blood to flow on his beard. The Imam took the blood and he dyed his beard with it. And he said, this is how I meet my grandfather Rasulullah. The Imam tried standing, but he would fall every time he laid on the ground. Zainab comes out of the tent. She rushed to the Imam. She sat beside him. She asked him, is he? She asked him if he is alive to respond. At that moment, the Imam was weak and could not respond. Zainab asked him again, but this time she swore by Fatima al-Zahra. Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Imam Hussain then replies, he tells her, why did you mention our mother? You have torn my heart into pieces. Zainab, please go back to the camp. Zainab, please leave the battlefield. Then the horse of the Imam went next to his head. He covered his face with the blood of the Imam, and then he goes back to the camp. Zainab from a hill, she shouts, "Oh Umar ibn Sa'd, you stay alive while Imam Hussain gets killed." Umar ibn Sa'd orders his army to kill the Imam. One of the enemies approaches the Imam's body. He said, "This is the first time I see a face covered of blood yet bright and handsome." Shimr al-La'in comes. لعنك الله يا شمر. Shimr sat on the chest of Abi Abdullah al-Hussain. Then he got up and he kicked the Imam. لعنك الله يا شمر. At that moment, Abdullah, son of Al-Hassan, a child, a little small child, came out of the tent. He threw himself on the Imam to protect him. He shouted on Shimr, go away, don't kill my uncle Hussein." Shimr hit the boy and killed him on the chest of the Imam. رحم الله من نادى وحسينا. Shimr then turned the Imam on his back. He took his sword. He cut off the Imam's head. رحم الله من نادى وحسينا وغريبا وشهيدا. السلام جميعا. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب Hussain. One more time on behalf of the shuhada. As-salamu ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussain wa ala أصحاب الحسين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq to serve our beloved Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. May Allah hasten his reappearance. طيبوا أفواهكم بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Oh Allah, please accept this ibadat from us. Please accept the azah from us. Let the family of the Prophet and Hazrat Fatima Zahra accept it and give us shafa'atan yawm al-qiyamah, ya Allah. Let us be amongst the ashab and the ansar of Abu Abdullah when his raj'at takes place And Ya Allah, please forgive our sins. Give us a tawfiq to remain away from sins. Let us be able to act on the teachings of the Quran Majid and the Ahlul Bayt. Ya Allah, those who are ill, grant them shifa kamila from their illnesses. Those who are in debt, help them fulfill their debts, Ya Allah. Those who are suffering any shortcomings in their rizq, in their sustenance, increase their barakah, increase their rizq, and let them be able to have good, decent barakah from you, Ya Allah. The marhumin who have left us, grant them maghfirat, inshallah. When we leave this world, protect us from the difficulties of maut, the difficulties in the qabr, the difficulties on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Ya Allah, we ask you to help the mu'mineen, those who are suffering, the Muslims, anywhere in the world, in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Nigeria, in Bahrain, in Palestine, in Syria, wherever there is suffering, in Burma, in Kashmir. Ya Allah, hasten the downfall of the oppressors. Grant the mustazafin in Nigeria and everywhere else a speedy victory, Ya Allah. We ask you, we beg you to protect our ulama, our maraja who are serving while the Imam is in occultation. Grant them long and healthy life in the service of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt, and protect them from the challenges, the difficulties and the dangers that are around them. Ya Allah, we ask you, bihaqqi hadha laylatul ashur, we ask you to return our Mawla Imam al-Hujjah to us. Let us be amongst the Ashab and the Ansar of the Imam. Let us be able to see Zamana al-Dhuhur with our own eyes, and let us be with the Imam till the end of our lives. If we can all join together and recite 5 times Amma Yujibul, for those who are ill, for Allah Ta'ala to give them shifa, especially our sister Ruqayya, for all those who are ill, for Allah to give them shifa, for our hajat, our wishes to be accepted, and for the safety, the hifazat of Imam Sahib al-Amr, all together. Bismillah Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء اللهم اشف كل مريض. One Surah Fatiha for all those who have left us, the deceased. One Surah Fatiha preceded by a salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just before those who want to leave, give me a few more minutes. It's the last part of my little talk, at least from the Ark's perspective for tonight. Today, before I came, just before I left, my daughter asked me a question. She said, Dad, she has a lot of discussions online, and she said one of the questions that came up, or some of the questions that came up, they told her, especially today, I think, or the day before, yesterday, they told her, oh, Hussein's movement was political. That means he was a typical politician. I think Maulana spoke about the very large differences between a politician and between those who are, who do it for the sake of Allah are different. So, because I had to leave, I was in a rush. With all honesty, I told her, it's not political, it's a revival. And I told her, we'll discuss after. If she's watching, then hear a bit of the answer, at least now, online. One of the revival, I'm not going to give a speech, I'm not going to go into details, but the revival that Imam Hussain sacrificed his life and his son Abdullah, nobody can do it. No, sometimes you get to a position, you can sacrifice even yourself, but you won't sacrifice your family or kids. Just even a lot of the ashab of the Imam, they came without their families. They were able to sacrifice themselves, but not their families, not their kids. So it's a very different position of the Imam. So I'm not here to tell you that we're going to sacrifice our kids and our children, but we all be the fida, the sacrifice for the Imam. The most important is revival. He sacrificed himself so you don't have to. So you don't have to go and do the same thing. But he told you at least go for a revival. And he told you at least if you want a revival, do it together. Don't go by yourself. Do it in a group. Do it through collaboration. Part of that, when the art first launched, when we sat together with the brothers at that time, we said, how are we different? There's already Hussainiyat. There's already Masajid. Alhamdulillah. And may God increase them. There's already other institutions. What's the difference? Are we just there because we have nothing else to do? We just want to get together. We don't know what to do. We can't join other organizations. Are we just replicating, duplicating work? Or are we there to do something different? Is there a need? Is there a gap that we can see? So we had a lot of talk before. And part of that gap that we saw, part of that revival from our perspective, from something that we can contribute to, is the following. We noticed that most of our work have been the brothers and sisters who've worked many years, 15, 18, 20, 40. Maybe the elders in the back that we can't see have also that many number of years. But we've noticed that within the community at large, I'm not pointing fingers at any specific community, there's sometimes a lack of leadership, a lack of vision. So we noticed one of that. So we said, okay, let's sit down and let's create a vision. Let's get something together. We also noticed when the work, sometimes there is vision, there is leadership, but when they get together, they get into conflict. So we noticed there's no clear processes, no clear roles, there's no division of, as we say, labor. A lot of things are confused. There's no accounting, so to speak, to things. So sometimes they don't get, they don't get specific clearances from specific governmental bodies because they have no accountability. And we noticed the last thing is inconsistency in programming. That programs get active, we don't know how, and we don't know when, and somehow they disappear. And then nobody talks about it after. So we said, let's work on those four. So we put a vision together. We work a lot, and the previous brothers who worked with us before are sitting here as well. We spent a lot of time on roles and responsibilities, on policies, a lot of time, believe me. This is on top of the work that we had. We spent a lot of time on programming, figuring out what we want to do, how we want to do it, and how to get it across. And it's 100% English. It's not 90, it's not 50, it's not one day I come with Arabic, one day I feel like English. It's 100% English because most of our speakers are actually just English. And the other thing that's very important before I get into the other parts, before we end this night, is that we left it a bit relaxed as well. So we weren't there. Yes, there's a committee, there's a overriding committee, there's an executive team as well. But those who work in the committees are between you, and you can ask them how the atmosphere is very, very relaxed in the sense that they can come, they can propose programs, the committees will have budgets and so on, and there's a whole planning that happens when we help those who want to achieve. So let's say someone in the sisters says, Danny, I'm good for interfaith, I have a lot of experience in that, I'm good for workshops, one of the brothers. I say, okay, bring your idea. We can't do it all, but we can support and we can help. So let's see how you guys can benefit. One of the brothers sitting right here, Habib Ibrahim, who has not said a word since he came to us one day and said, I'm good in technology, I'm good in that YouTube stuff. He's much younger than me, so he's really good in that. Said, fine, get it, what do you want to do? What's the idea? And he had a lot of ideas, and he's worked through them since, through a lot of them actually. So it's a bit of I would say, a Google type of atmosphere that you can get to create and you can get to promote your idea and your work. So that said, it's a place for everyone and anyone. So it's not for just the Lebanese, it's not just for just Iraqis, it's not just for just who speak Arabic or who only speak English or Pakistanis. That's something I think we've been consistent throughout university. We always work in a multicultural environment. Most of our, you would say, clients, most of our, supporters, most of our, participants come from different backgrounds. It's not like before where it used to be just the Lebanese center, just the Kuwaiti or the Iraqi, and so on. So it's a very mixed environment, and I'm happy to stay in that type of environment. So before I end, there's a few things that I want you to take back home. So part of it is for tomorrow, there will be full English maqtals that will be read by Sheikh Hammam and by Sheikh Mustafa al-Makhzoumi. These will be online, so Brother Kareem or the team will send you the links to those, so full in English. I'd like also to thank, first of all, our dear Sheikh for driving all the way from Kitchener. For those who don't know, it's about a 6-7 hour drive. I have family in London and Kitchener, so I've driven those horrible 6-7 hours, and I hope it's still not raining today. But for driving all the way and for shutting off the pandemic fears, as a lot of us have stayed home during those critical months. So we'd like to thank him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We pray, Shaykhna, that this salawat brings you, you came to us in safety, we're bringing you back to your family in safety as well, inshallah. The other announcements that we have is that we'd also like to thank each and one who contributed individually, from Sayyid Noor to Ibrahim, to Sayyid Al-Hadi, and to the sisters in the back who've also helped organize that we don't see often, like Sister Zainab Marai, any of the sisters, and lots of the other volunteers with her as well. We'd also want to thank the Masjid Imam Ali for collaborating with us in this event, for providing the space and for providing the many amenities in that space. There's also thanking personally the volunteers. A lot of this work cannot happen without volunteers. Nobody gets paid other than Allah gives you your payment. That's the real truth behind everything. From the people who've come around to give you a tissue, from people who've picked up our Kleenexes, from people who've given you at the front who stop at the door and make sure that the registration is to Sayyid Jawad and Sayyid and Amin, who are at the door, maybe from the sister's side as well. From that all the way to the inside, these programs cannot happen without each and every one of us contributing to advance the cause. So the other, too many thanks today, but it's always good to thank. The other thing I'd like to remind is that please, I want to thank all the sponsors and donors, and that to remind you that we are still accepting donations. In that respect, there's also a reminder that tomorrow, on the day of Ashura, I'll give a little mustahab and then I'll give you the time for these things. So there's a mustahab that you hold off from eating until duhr. That's a mustahab if you can. And it's also mustahab that when you break your fast after prayer or duhr time, that the first thing is turbat, not the whole thing, a little bit, with water. That's a mustahab. After that, from 2 to 3, the masjid will also be giving out barakah, food for Imam Hussain, salamullah alayh. Yeah, it's a drive-thru, yes, it's not sitting in. Also on the days, that also applies for the days of 11, 12, and 13, but that will happen from 6:30 to 7:30. You don't have to note that down. An email, obviously a text message will flow just for that. And yes, the good reminder from Brother Kareem that please your water bottles for issues of safety, not just for waste, but issues of safety, please take your water bottles with you home or discard them once you leave. The other issue, I want to remind everyone to please keep your masks on at all times, whether you're in the mosque or outside of the mosque, and be safe. And with this, with the loud salawat for the brothers. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Last reminder is that tomorrow today at 11 p.m. there will be a latmiyyah for the brothers only, and it will end with the dua al-hajj by Habibi Abu Zahra Diya. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. No. Well, about just the quiz, because I can't forget that. The Sheikh will. Yeah, I know there's 2 minutes for prayers. Just very quickly on the door as you walk out, the Sheikh had promised you a quiz with a prize. So it's a double-sided. Please fill it out, and there's instructions on it on how to send it to us. Thank you. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا دليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.